Hello everybody, it's Dr. Rowe here with Colin. Say hi, Col.
Hi.
So, excuse the glasses, but I actually need glasses and I need to be able to see you at the same time. So we're here live on site, excuse the wobbly camera. I'm with Colin because there's a lot happened since we last did anything live actually together.
Yeah, it's been a while.
So we're going to do some filming on this and you'll see these dripping out as educational pieces over the next month. But we're live on site and Colin felt that he wanted to talk you through a few important things that have just happened recently in the view of where we're at with the house. So maybe a quick overview of where we got to. And we're going to just talk about the outside of the property and what's just happened here in the ceiling. And maybe we'll talk about a little bit of detail there as well.
Yeah.
So tell us where we're at, Col.
So we are now watertight on the property and things are happening internally. So the work's progressing with all the first fix is actually almost done now and the boarding's going on. So we're on a very good stretch of the project that's actually going to start seeing the finishes going on in due course. And at the moment we're standing outside on the balcony. All the roofs are completed and we're now preparing for the watertightness with the external insulation.
Right, so if I just pan the camera around so you can see, you'll see some of this detail in a minute. It's quite important. You might remember from previously when we were here, this was just basically, well, it was a shell, wasn't it?
That's right, yeah.
And you may remember from previous videos, this was all the truss area. So let's tackle what you want to talk about here, which is the outside ceiling in this
stage.
Stage.
So now, in fact, I don't know if you can pan to the floor. The weatherproofing is now on the flat roof.
Yeah.
So this is now what is a balcony to the master bedroom.
Yeah.
So this looks over the garden, and then as you come back, we've now got the brand new external doors and windows in. Which are absolutely beautiful, and they'll really finish off the exterior. And then beyond that, now we need to weather tight the building by using this.
I'm going to flip this round actually. I'm going to see if I can flip this so we can see Colin. There we go.
And then we've got the breather membrane, the Tyvek breather membrane that will go on the outside.
So give that the name again so they can hear it.
This is Tyvek. It's called Tyvek breather membrane. You put this on the outside of the building.
Yeah.
This will create a watertight seal.
Right.
And what we've got is this is coming into what is a timber frame, and then we've got our window. And then the insulation, external insulation.
Explain what's behind this, because this is part of the old building, isn't it? So
yeah, so at this level we had a timber frame structure.
Right.
This is a funny property. It had cavity wall brick on ground floor, then we had timber frame upstairs with insulation. Now the existing building only had a very thin wall structure, so it's actually only about 125mm thick with insulation, and then a timber weatherboard on the outside. So the insulation was not very good on this property before. Now what we've done is we've retained the timber structure. That's 100mm, 125mm with insulation, and then we're adding 100mm of external insulation on top of this breather membrane here.
Right, so I guess the U values...
This U value will get to about 0.16, which is incredible, really. That's extremely high U value, and U value is the thermal retention inside the building. So it's actually how we calculate building structure to make sure that it's thermally meeting regulations.
Now on this point here, one of the reasons this has gone on fairly early is because we are literally facing south, but there's driving rains, hasn't there?
That's right. So the weather has actually held up a lot of the project on some areas, but now we're watertight, we can crack on with the inside. This will protect the external material ready for the insulation to go onto it, which is great. And what that means is that the outside can come when the weather's actually now drying up, which it is. The insulation is going to start in probably 2 or 3 weeks time, and then the outside of the building will actually be on its way to completion. So
Cole, just some tips for people that are looking at doing renovations which do involve outside works. How quickly should this be considered? Is this like a last minute thing, or it should be pre-planned for?
The thing is, this is really useful to have. For instance, if you take off your roof, we did it on the slate roof behind you there. They actually took that roof off, we got the timber frame in, and then we put the Tyvek, a similar product, over the roof. Now that keeps the water out, which is great, even without the slate finish going on there. So this is a great product to get on when you can, if you are doing external works. But obviously this needs to go with the build-up of what you're putting on the outside. So the external insulation has to have the breather membrane.
Brilliant.
So that's why that needs to go on there.
Okay. Hi, it's Dr. Rowe again with Colin. Sorry, I pressed the wrong button there. What an idiot. Okay, so I shouldn't say that. I keep telling my daughter not to say things like that. Plonk is probably a better word. Anyway, so Col, you wanted to talk to us about this detail over here. Yep, got it. Okay, so let's have a look at what's going on over here, because this is a really important part. And again, the whole point that I'm sharing this with you is if you are looking at a project, for a lot of time people get so obsessed with the inside of the renovation,
Yeah.
and they actually forget the outside works.
Yeah. Water can be your enemy. That's how I see it. So we want to keep all the water out. Doesn't matter what happens internally, the outside water, if it's not kept away, that will affect all the works that you can do inside.
Yeah.
So for us on this property, we've obviously got all the water tightness completed now, but how the junctions work with the roof cover.
If I just step back so you can see the feature here. So there's the flow of the roof going into the external, and the rendering's yet to go on, but you can see that now.
So here we've got our zinc roof coming down. This is meeting the vertical structure where the insulation's going to go. So we have our dressing underneath this. You can't actually see it, but we've got flashing coming down. That will give us the depth of upstand that we need for then the insulation to come at this point. Now the junction here is really crucial because you want to make sure that one, it looks aesthetically pleasing, but you do not have any water coming into the property. So the way the slate comes down to the zinc, and then the way the zinc will meet the insulation is very, very
I'm going
important.
to see if I can switch this round, because this was a detail we really had to get right. So if you want to just show us
That's right. So
So I'll put the camera there and you can talk it through.
Okay,
Colin.
so you can see the slate coming down. The nice trim of the slate there is actually just touching above the zinc. So that junction means that the zinc will go underneath the slate and create a drip onto the zinc, and then it will run away. Then we have at the corner here, we have this corner where the insulation externally is going to go onto the existing structure. How that comes down to meet here with a little gap, a little shadow gap at the bottom, is vital. But behind here, which I can't show you because it's all sealed, we've got an upstand on top of the zinc, which is sealed. That means that any water coming down will run straight onto here. There'll be no risk of any water coming in behind.
So the main thing with these things is details up front before you start the work. Don't try and hash it out on site.
Yeah. Some things you have to do on site. It's
Yeah.
inevitable.
Yeah, but in
because
terms of
everything-
the basic principles, getting your drawings up and then working it through with the builder.
Yeah, well, actually, what we did here is we had 3 trades here.
Yes, yes.
In fact, it was the carpenter, it was the zinc roof installer, and the slate roof installer all in one. So
Well as actually the rendering specialist.
That's right. So we were talking about this junction. How was we going to seal this? Because existing structure to new structure is always difficult. How do you get that right? And we all had a conversation about what is the best way to get that connecting to make sure that it looks good and that it's watertight.
So key tips here: talk to the builder early.
Yep, absolutely.
Focus on details that you might normally overlook, because the last thing we wanted to have done is not have anticipated this. I remember you 2 or 3 weeks before actually coming out, and he was here doing other stuff and saying, I just want to make sure we don't miss these little details.
Yeah. I get a little bit obsessed with how
Water,
these things
get
work.
out water.
Yeah, I don't want water.
Don't want water getting in the house. The thing is, once it's in, you might think you can dry it out, and on the surface water does dry out, but actually if it's in the bones, it takes a lot longer to dry out, doesn't it?
Yeah.
And what we were trying to avoid here was, if we're going to put insulation on the inside, we've got all natural product on the inside of the house, we didn't want water starting to damage that, and then that takes ages to dry out, have to be replaced. And we actually have been through the house, haven't we, and we found some of the old insulation was quite dark and in places mouldy, because it hadn't been looked after previously. Great stuff. So we're going to take a look inside the house, and you'll start to see some other videos coming out over the coming weeks. Colin, thanks very much for your help.
No worries, thanks.
Bye.